Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is April 8th, 2022, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the market's trading on lower volatility as things are settling down. Now looking at the major economic events of the day, one thing coming out of Canada at 2:30 South African time, it's a unemployment change rate number. Now looking at the various markets, starting out with the Forex symbols, the major pairs pretty much settling on support on lower volume. Looking at the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ both bounced yesterday. And commodities, gold pretty much unchanged, really very quiet there, and oil steady. Looking at the stocks, the tech stocks bounced together with the markets, and Alcoa holding support. We're going to take a look at that as well. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin continues to retrace. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. We're taking a look at the Euro USD, and you can see we are at that supportish level just there. Okay, not breaking lower, but not necessarily bouncing higher either. I mean, look at that. I mean, this is really just very, very shallow there on lower volume. Now looking at the GBP USD, also at the bottom of its range. We're looking at a 4-hour chart. The bottom is 130-ish level, and we're just getting close to that. The Aussie dollar also trading on support, retraced, right? You can see that quite clearly, and it's due for a bounce. Now if it does break lower, okay, if this does break here on the low side, we could see it definitely go back to 73, but it's got a pretty strong support here on this area, so keep that in mind. Now looking at Canadian dollar, with the news coming out today, we had a nice rally for the Canadian dollar from 124 to 125-ish level, almost hitting 126, and that is where we're at right now. So this is right before the big number of the rate decision, the unemployment change for the month. So you know, if we do cross over this 8-day moving average, we could see it retrace somewhere in the middle, possibly to the 125.29. Not a big move, but a decent move. Okay, a 60 pip move is still decent in this type of market. You want to focus yourself on the more volatile types of symbols. And right now, as it stands, the Forex symbols are not that volatile. You want to focus yourself more on the stocks. And we're going to get to that in just a second. Looking at gold, nothing. 129 to 1933, you know, 1922 tonight. It's a tight range. It's not tradable right now, but just keep an eye on it. All right. So for right now, it is still quiet. Looking at oil, we're still steady here at this 96.84. Okay. The wedge formation is still there. Okay. As you can see that it's still holding itself out in this area. Okay, as this is still happening. Okay, so if there is a breakout on the downside, we could definitely see it back in the 80s area. Now we are going into the summer, so perhaps it will happen, perhaps it won't happen. There's various type of reasons why it may happen. Number one, there's much more consumption, but that's more towards August. But between now and May, we may see a further sell-off in the price of oil. Now jumping into the big board, looking at the Dow Jones trading at 84,500, we retraced down to 200, and then bounced right off of it. Okay, we hit even low as 3,400. Now we are trading at 34,600 points. Okay, if we do see this crossover over the 30-day, we could possibly see it back in that 34,700-ish area. Now looking at the NASDAQ as well, did get that bounce, but not as severe. Okay, you can see that it's not as severe. And looking at the individual stocks, Apple did get a little bit of a bounce. Facebook, okay, if you call that a bounce. Microsoft got a little bit of a bounce, saving itself at $300. Okay, but not tremendous kind of strength that I would be looking for. Okay, so we may still see it just drifting sideways until we get some sort of direction. Now looking at Alcoa, this is a 4-hour chart, and if you look here, okay, we had this gap up, but we never had this fill in the gap. Okay, which still states that it's relatively still strong. Okay, so right here, 84.40 is your support level, and we're right now at $86 a share. Okay, and we may use this moving average as a resistance-ish area. So keep that in mind later today if that does get filled, as this potentially may work out as a decent trade. Now looking at Bitcoin, okay, Bitcoin just retracing down to 43,000, still relatively strong, finding some sort of footing. We like this type of environment where it's not just trading ridiculously, but it still has some character, okay? It's trading in a range. okay, since we went from November's highs of 68,000. Okay, so, you know, as this is going to rotate itself into, you know, something moving forward, it's still finding itself, still finding its identity. It's like a new child, right? So keep that in mind as this is unfolding. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.